Guys, everyone keeps asking me, should I buy Circle? Should I get into Circle? When's the best time to get into Circle? It's been absolutely exploding. I think it almost pushed up to 10x from the IPO. It was valued around $6 billion, and the current market cap is $52 billion. Absolutely crazy. Now, this reminds me of when everyone was asking me, should I buy Coinbase? Should I buy Coinbase? You know, Coinbase was pumping just after its IPO, and this happens quite a lot of the time with IPOs. There's a lot of FOMO, there's a lot of excitement, it's brand new, how high is it going to go? You know, it's going to be revolutionary. And often, from my experience, that's not the time to FOMO in. We did the same thing on Coinbase, right? Now, Coinbase actually started to look very, very bullish after the IPO. You could say this looked like a floor on Coinbase. We came back, we tested it, pushed to the upside. We tested it, pushed to the upside, it pushed to the upside again. People kind of looked at Coinbase and said, wow, I don't think we're going to break below this level. And then it started to break into these new highs, which sucks a lot of retail in, sucks a lot of traders in. People start to get very, very bullish, thinking that this is going to just keep skyrocketing to the moon. And I said to everyone, I am not buying Coinbase on the IPO excitement. I am going to wait for a correction. I'm going to wait for a pullback. And if we then fast forward, look what happened to Coinbase, guys. We had a sell signal from the SMC bot. By the way, great signals from the SMC bot, because you actually had a strong buy signal here and it did moon. And then we had a sell signal here and it pretty much marked the top of Coinbase. Just continued to capitulate. We even had little fake outs here, buy, then straight back into a sell. And it came all the way down and just crashed. I think it crashed. Let me check this, but I think it crashed by 90%, guys, from that high. So let's have a look. IPO euphoria. You know, everyone wanted to buy Coinbase, buy it, buy. And then it came down 90%. So if you had have put $100,000 in at that euphoria on the IPO launch of Coinbase, at the bottom, you would have had around 10K. Okay, so you would have been down 90%. And if you had put $1 million in, you would have been down $900,000 on your purchase. Absolutely sickening, right? Because if you bought the bottom, you made huge amounts of money, right? If you were just patient and you waited, you made huge amounts of money. And I did post in my Discord, you can see on the 1st of January 2023, only 2 hearts. I wish more of you were with us in the bear market, guys. But you know, hopefully you're going to be with us in this bear market, because we absolutely killed it. And buy alert coin 43.50. So at the peak after the IPO launch, the price was $360. But by being patient, by not getting sucked into the FOMO and the euphoria, we ended up buying Coinbase at 43.50. And I think that was almost the bottom. Okay, I think it was almost the bottom. We started to get these buy signals down here from the SMC bot after being in this massive downtrend, and we could see that the trend was starting to reverse. And yeah, the price actually came down in the end to $32, so we weren't far off getting the exact bottom of Coinbase. There was multiple reasons why I bought, done a small DCA into Coinbase, 10x from its all-time high. So, you know, massive opportunity. I like to buy things where I think it can 10x in a very short amount of time. I don't like to, for example, Circle right now is 52 billion market cap. And for it to 10x, it has to go to 520 billion market cap, which I think might be bigger than MasterCard. Don't quote me on that, okay? So MasterCard is taking many years of inflows and reputation and building to get to 520 billion. I don't think Circle is going to go to 520 billion overnight. Therefore, from this current price, I don't think it's going to 10x in a very short amount of time. So for me personally, it's not it's not a buy. If you got the IPO at $36, congratulations, right? It was a bit of a risk, but you know, it ended up playing out well for you. But right now, personally, I don't like to buy green candles. I actually like to buy red candles. And, you know, we are hopefully eventually going to see that on Circle. Many competitors were going into liquidation. So it's about doing the fundamentals as well. And, you know, just settled with the SEC for 100 million, only publicly listed exchange, has been audited by top 3 auditors. And we know Binance were refusing to be audited, right, from established auditors. Scrapping USDT, focusing on USDC. Isn't that fascinating? Because we're now seeing USDC become the main push for fintech. Binance, number one competitor, under fire from the government and wanted by many regulators. That's funny as well because they ended up actually arresting CZ. So this was well before CZ got arrested, and we saw the DOJ coming after Binance. Cathie Wood from ARK Invest had been buying millions much higher than this current price. So I love to get in below the smart money, right? Cheaper than the smart money. And Cathie Wood had been buying, and it came down 60% from her buys. Just fired 100 employees. So firing staff, it sounds bearish, but actually it reduces the expenses and is very bullish for companies. So it was good that they fired so many staff. And I'd hate to refer to people as fat, but they kind of trimmed out the fat, right? We may see more downside yet. So I'd only done a small DCA, more DCAs to come. And I've not sold my Coinbase, and I'm probably not going to sell my Coinbase, guys. It's just been added to the S&P. It's doing very well. It's got support from BlackRock now. You know, this was back in 2023 when things were a little bit more riskier. You know, there was no ETF. BlackRock was still like referring to crypto as a scam, and no one's interested in it. And then we saw this massive shift shortly after. So, you know, I think Coinbase is probably going to trend up over time. And, you know, I'm not going to try and swing trade this one because, you know, it's climbing very fast. But it's about doing the fundamental analysis. And the problem with Circle is that there is a lockup, and a lot of the supply is not going to be unlocked until the end of the year. So we are seeing this parabolic rally here, and you just have to ask yourself what happens when those are unlocked, right? Because if it starts to push over $300, $400, a lot of people are going to be 1,000% in profit. If it pushes up to $500-600, a lot of people are going to be 2,000% in profit, and you know, we might have to wait until that unlock to see some drastic sell-offs. But yeah, my problem, it was valued at $6 billion. It's almost done a 10x its valuation. You know, I'm not going to FOMO into this. I'm not going to have FOMO. I'm already in Coinbase. I already have a lot of exposure to this industry, and you know, my Coinbase bag is almost up 10x from my initial. I'm not going to get FOMO in this if I didn't have any exposure to the stablecoin narrative, because I do think it's going to be a massive narrative. I do think it's going to take a lot of liquidity away from TradFi and traditional payment infrastructures like Visa and MasterCard. You know, if I didn't have exposure, I probably just would have DCA'd, but you know, I do have some exposure, and for me, the way I've made most of my money is just by being patient and waiting for the right time. And you know, I don't buy pumps like this, right? I buy dumps, and you know, I take profits in pumps. If I had bought the IPO and I was almost 10x, best believe I would be slowly dollar cost averaging out of this, because a lot of the time I only want to make a 10x from a play, right? If I put 100,000 into something and it turns into $1 million, then you know, I've already hit pretty much my target on that play. So I'll of course you know, de-risk and take some profits off the table. So yeah, watch this one. Very interesting to see how this plays out. We might also see a short squeeze. A lot of people are shorting this. I'm not going to short it, guys. You know, we might see a short squeeze. The more and more people short, the more reason they have to try and push this even higher. In a 50 billion market cap, it's very achievable. I'm not going to short it. I am going to wait for things to calm down and to die down, just like we did on Coinbase. Am I saying it's going to come down 90%? No, I'm not saying that, guys. You know, two very different products, but I'm just saying, look how it happened with Coinbase, and you know, we had this euphoria, and then it actually ended up being the worst time in history to buy Coinbase. And sadly, a lot of the people who bought here in this euphoria are still not in profits today. They're still at a loss. And this is, how many years later is it? This is 4 years ago. Imagine people being in a 4-year loss in the last rat in the market that we've had, and we've just made an absolute fortune by being patient and buying the dip on Coinbase and just waiting and just holding. I've not sold any, right? I've held for all of these pumps and dumps. I've just been holding Coinbase all the way up, and I will continue to hold it. You know, and those who bought on the IPO launch are actually still at a loss even today. They're still at a loss even today, 4 years later, and who knows, maybe they'll still be in a loss in 6 months time or a year time. So it can be a very, very dangerous game buying these IPOs, and more often than not you get this IPO FOMO, a lot of things, and then you get this long drawn out cool down. And then I look to find this sideways consolidation. The SMC will flip to a sell, so we'll get a sell signal like we did on Coinbase, and then we'll get the buy signal from the SMC bot, and that's where I look to accumulate and look for that floor and look for that sideways period. Guys, if you want to see my buy and sell alerts, if you want to see my portfolio, all the stocks that I'm buying, because we are buying stocks quite heavy at the moment. And well, I say at the moment we're buying stocks quite heavy since January. If you want to see my portfolio, if you want to see all of the trades, we've got professional leverage trader in here. It gives leverage trades. We're tracking it on-chain smart money. You can see here in real time we're tracking some of these wallets, KOL's wallets. We're tracking all the meme coin buys. So when people buy stuff like or buy or sell fart coin, we're going to get notified in real time. We can see the DEX inflows, so we can see what all of the where all the money is going, right? So we can see PIF has a DEX outflow of 802,000, 14 times the recent average. So I would go into PIF. Why are people buying PIF? Do they think the market's about to have a bounce? Do I need to take a long position on PIF? And then if you see DEX inflows, then normally people are selling, right? Why do people sell their tokens? Why do they remove tokens from their decentralized wallets and send it to an exchange? Guys, it's usually for one reason. It's not, you're not normally going to stake your fart coin or your crap coin. It's normally to sell and take profit. So do I need to exit that bag? Do I need to take a short position? Very, very valuable data that we get in real time in this Discord. So if you want to join us, you want to get these buy and sell signals on the SMC bot, head over to the Discord and get involved with us here. Here you can see the link to my X account, and you can see the Patreon here. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of these videos. Until then, I will catch you guys in the next one.